Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and I'm back with an update and pink hair again, which is amazing, and it's also not what I asked for. So we'll save my hair problems for another day. Okay, but I'm back. I'm back with two updates. One is around my diagnosis. I had the opportunity to see my gastroenterologist, Dr. B, this morning, very early this morning. So I'll give you an update on that. And then also an update on some very interesting dietary changes that I've been making, and just kind of in general how the nutritional aspect of this is going. So Dr. B, I saw him last in December, and then we went through the whole, so as a reminder, microscopic colitis, went through the whole Sibo carousel. Don't think it actually worked, or if it did, it's a mild improvement. So I did what I always did, which is I over-prepared for my doctor's appointment. It's not the actual notebook, but I have a notebook like this where I write down all of my medical information. So I keep all of it from my GP, my psychiatrist, my gastroenterologist, also my therapist, and my nutritionist. All goes in one place. That makes it very easy for me. I'm used to writing everything longhand, so it keeps it collected. So over the last, when I have an appointment with my gastroenterologist coming up, I count back a month, and then I do a lot of recording of what's happening, what I'm noticing in my body on a daily basis. And then what I do on a weekly basis is after I've recorded everything, then I look for patterns. So I start to surface those patterns at a weekly level. My husband thought I did this in a spreadsheet. I do love a good spreadsheet, but I don't. I just write it in an email and then send it to myself with the themes at the top every week. And then after those 4 weeks, I go back and I look at all the themes to see what's collating and what patterns I'm having in my symptoms. And this is just, I think, really good practice when you go to see a physician, is to be prepared. I had a very long list, and my husband said, pick 5 that you think are most impacting your quality of life right now. Quality of life, one of the things physicians love to talk about. What's your quality of life? So I wrote down my top symptoms, and then I had some specific questions to understand around different procedures, different medications we might try. Basically, this is not working. What can we do? So got up very, very early for my 7:45 doctor's appointment. If you know me at all, you know how motivated I was to get this appointment because 7:45 doctor's appointment. This was my first in office visit, and it was the first available, so I took it over virtual. But I was really glad that I went into the office. I do think there is something about being in the same space as your physician. So we had a really good conversation, and he asked what had been going on, so I started sharing my top 5 symptoms, and I had my notebook open on my lap, and he said, but you have more than that written down. I said, okay, I'll continue. So I shared all of that, and he had the furrowed brow. And long story short, he is not sure that I have microscopic colitis, or 2 working theories. I have microscopic colitis and IBS, or I don't have microscopic colitis at all and I have IBS. And you say that doesn't make any sense, Sarah. And what he had said to me was that in the colonoscopy, they did biopsies. So I did have a rather large non-cancerous colon polyp, which they removed. Non-cancerous, not even precancerous. So very, very good. Colon cancer matters. They changed the age to 45. Get screened. It matters. Very curable. So he had said it could be that was not incidental, but that you had, this is the problem when I don't want to say over test, but we test things, we find things that might not actually be the cause of what we're experiencing. He had said, I've never had a microscopic colitis patient that hasn't responded to budesonide and then has a moderate response to mesalamine. Like in his many, 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 many years of practice, he's never seen that. He also said, if you came with the symptoms that you came with today, I would not diagnose you with microscopic colitis. Like absent of that test result, I would say you have some form of IBS, maybe some dyspepsia in there. And that's really a lot of just like the nerves and the way that they work. With IBS, you get all these random contractions across the whole intestinal tract, which is what I have. Like upper abdominal pain makes no sense for microscopic colitis. That's just not what it is. So yeah, I could see why you could go down the Sibo route. And we talked about Sibo. It's a hard thing to diagnose for, but I'll come to my second point in a minute of why I don't think that's actually what's going on. You're negative for celiac, you're negative for all these other things. Your ultrasound was negative. Long story short, he's going to treat me for IBS. So be excited about that. There are 3 things we're going to try in order. I'm gonna mess it up. So there's an antispasmodic group of medications. Bentyl is the one I'm familiar with that I've taken before. There's another one, starts with an H, and it's not coming to me. That's what I'm going to start with. Because basically, again, the smooth muscle contractions are not happening, and that causes just a lot of pain and problems in the digestive tract. That's number 1. And I'm going to keep on the mesalamine. That's going to be kind of the base level. We're not going to take away the mesalamine until we can figure out what might work. The second one is Vibrezi. I don't know how you say it. There are 2 medications for IBS-D patients. One of them I think was just taken off the market, which is not cool because, well, it's also not cool. It had some serious side effects. But there are 2 relatively new, as in didn't have them in 2014 when I first thought I had IBS. So these are antidiarrheal medications. So that is step 2. And they're not like you're probably aware of like Pepto-Bismol or Imodium, over-the-counter stuff. You take those and when you have an acute problem. But for people like me who have just ongoing all these problems, we want to take a dose that's going to last for this is prescription medication that you take. The third one, and this one was interesting, is tricyclic antidepressants. So if you've watched any of my videos about anxiety, you know that I have generalized anxiety disorder. I've tried lots of different medications for that, many of them antidepressants because of the crossover. But there's a very specific group of tricyclic antidepressants, which now would not be even close to the first things you use for depression. They're much older medications from the 60s and 70s, but a big problem. And there's a huge comorbidity with mental illness and with gut problems. So I didn't fully understand, but it's a lot of how the different things like serotonin are absorbed in the gut. You get more serotonin from your gut than you do for your brain. Wild. So those are 3 different options for me. We're going to try each of them. I don't know. You really have to give medications a month, which I guess I'm going to be patient. We're going to try these things for a month. I'm still on the mesalamine, so that's helping. We're not there yet. So the hope is that one of these 3 will work. It is possible that none of these will work, and then I'm going to go get another colonoscopy. So I'm not going to say I'm excited to get another colonoscopy. I would hope it would work, but if it's not working, we've got to try something else. And that would be, I think, one thing that would do is help him confirm microscopic colitis. It could be that almost 2 years ago, that 20 months ago, that I did have some signs of that. But functional IBS does come from gastroenteritis. So it does come from things like food poisoning, and that's what I had. So it can cause microscopic colitis. It also can cause IBS. Which, thinking back, if this is what IBS is, or severe IBS, I did not have severe IBS before. My no FODMAP diet is fixing this. So I'm really excited. 3 more things we're going to try. I have anxiety. Have I mentioned that yet? So I was afraid I was going to come in and he was going to say, yeah, we're kind of done. But we're not. So I came home very happy and it's like, oh, I have new things to try. So you can probably tell in my mood. The other reason I'm not convinced about Sibo. So I took the Xifaxan. It was better for a week or 2 and then kind of like degraded. I've talked about this before, but this is where we get into the nutritionist view compared to the physician view. And as my therapist reminded me, you need to listen to your physicians. And it's not that I'm not listening to my physicians. It's just that it's not everything. And love Dr. B, but like a 1-page handout on food, like that's not, I need more than that. So my registered dietitian had suggested some dietary changes. So I've shared this before. I'm now no lactose, no gluten. since October. No lactose since forever. That's not true. Sometimes I'll have a little bit and take the Lactaid. Not anymore. Done with that. So gluten and lactose are known irritants when your gut is on overdrive, and I think I've adapted pretty well to the gluten-free. I figured out how to bake with it. I figured out all of these things. So my last appointment with my nutritionist, she opened with, I want you to do the elemental diet. I had no idea what she was talking about. I had heard of it and I thought, wait, this is not the one you eat for your blood type, is it? Which is woo-woo. No, the elemental diet is actually it has to have some medical results. My GP knew all about it when I shared it with her, Dr. M. The elemental diet is a all liquid diet for 2 weeks. They're engineered. I don't think shake is even the right word. It's some sort of fluid. It doesn't really have much taste. It's nutritionally balanced. But the idea is you take in, they calculate, so you take in the same amount of calories, so you're supposed to feel the same. And you do this for 2 weeks to rest your digestive tract. So it's very common for people coming out of surgery on the gastro tract. It's common so Sibo is the other treatment. And the reason is that with Sibo, when you're feeding the gut certain nutrients or certain foods, those bacteria just get really freaking happy. And so the idea is that the elemental diet starves Sibo. And I believe that. I did actually look into, there is research that shows this. My GP had said that. And I said it with my GP, she just made a face and she said, that's really extreme. And that kind of shocked me into reality a little bit. Not that I wanted that. I sort of was in a panic after talking to my nutritionist. And I had just said, that sounds like a lot. What else would you recommend? And she said, instead you could try a Sibo specific diet. So guess what I'm doing now? I'm doing a Sibo specific diet. And it's hard. It's really hard. So a Sibo specific diet, the idea of that is to create a very inhospitable environment for anything lurking in the gut after antibiotics. It is a no gluten, no lactose, no sugar diet. You can't get sugar. Oh, and low on certain fiber. You can get some sugar through certain types of fruit. So berries, for example, are allowed in small doses, like everything's portion controlled. And carbs, I went gluten-free, so I was getting used to rice and rice pasta and sweet potato gnocchi, which is the most delicious thing I've ever tasted. Never regular gnocchi again. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, quinoa, all of these, a lot of squash. Oh, tons of squash. That's another one. So I thought, I could do gluten-free. I really could do it. Wouldn't be my preference, but I could do it. I realize now and I'm privileged enough that I can afford to buy gluten-free foods. They're not always cheap. But now that's all gone. And so I was just like, what do I eat? So that first week was hard. And I ended up buying 2 Sibo cookbooks. They're actually really good. They've got great ideas. I can't eat the whole range of it yet, supposedly. And it's weird. No sugar. That's not true. There's one food you're not supposed to eat that I still eat because I don't care. I need some joy in my life. And that's dark chocolate. I have 85% dark chocolate. It's a couple grams of sugar a day. Why am I saying it quiet? Because it feels illegal, but I don't care. I have lost so many wonderful foods from my diet. I have never wanted to eat squash this much in my life, or rice pasta. Who thought I would miss rice pasta? And it just is, carbs are a great source of energy, but a lot of the foods that were quote unquote safe foods are out. So things like peanut butter. Oh, it's my favorite snack. You can see that I'm torn about this. I do feel a little bit better. I do feel slightly less discomfort. But honestly, removing sugar from your diet and processed foods, you're going to feel better. It's not like I eat a lot of processed stuff. I don't eat fast food. There's just a lot of stuff I don't eat anyway, but cutting all of it out, I felt a huge drop in my energy. But my gut felt a little better. So I'm trying to understand. I didn't get the feedback from my nutritionist yet, how long one is on this diet to see is it working. It's an 8-week diet, a Sibo specific diet, 8 to 12 weeks. I don't think I'm going to make it unless I really notice a change. That being said, I don't think there's anything bad that can come out of it. Eating less processed sugar, it's not going to be bad for me. It'll be fine. It does allow more of certain fruits and vegetables, so that's been good. It's been hard for my gut to adjust to that if you've ever gone through that process. The other thing that I realized is I was looking down one day and I was on like 40 supplements a day. That was my average. And I'm slowly not taking as many. So in some of them, you take multiple ones at the same time. And so I have a theory that some of them aren't doing anything. And so I'm titrating down to see if that's correct. The thing is, if we're treating me for Sibo and I don't have Sibo, it's not that it's bad, but it's just like, is this necessary? So I feel really stuck right now. I had a great appointment with my physician. I need to connect with my other physician, but then to say, yeah, what do I do with all of this? I understand they're fundamentally different perspectives. I continue to understand the frustration when people can't get answers from physicians. They turn to something else. And I'm full on committed to these things until I started titrating them. But if it doesn't help, why am I doing it? So this is where I am. Yeah, this is where I am. Do I have microscopic colitis? Plot twist. Maybe I don't. Maybe we over-indexed on a positive, but that's not the primary thing that's going on. I'm learning a lot. I would rather this be over, but I'm continuing to learn a lot. So I would say in my next update, hopefully to tell you what do I actually have. But we're going to start treating me as if this is severe IBS, and we'll see if any of these medications provide any relief. So thanks y'all for tuning in. Thanks for your support. If you're at an earlier point in this journey, I see you, I hear you. I hope that you continue to advocate for yourself. Again, I'm so glad that I was able to go and give him, Dr. B, a really good picture of what was happening in my body. And with that, again, he was able to look back and say, hey, this might not be what it is. It's funny because my world is complexity. I work with organizations, and it's hard. It's hard to diagnose an organizational problem. And I always thought the body was simple. The body is really hard. So some people could look at this and say, oh, Dr. B messed up, but I don't think so. There are more than one diagnosis that could be at play here. And I appreciate his openness and humility in treating this. And I know that as a patient, I demonstrate my curiosity and my willingness to keep going. I might not be patient, but I will outlast anyone in the quest to figure out what's going on. And it did feel interesting as I went into the clinic. You pass one of the oncology wards at the hospital where he's located. And that was a moment to hold my frustration and to also be thankful that, all things considered, I'm not living the life that I was, but I'm still leading a pretty happy and healthy life. So all my love to you. I hope to come back soon with more updates. Thanks, y'all. Bye.